Hey, you guys, I am back and I am a little bit late, but I believe the cross is happening right now. So let's watch. It's already a hot mess. It's a messy cross. Let's get into it and let me know what your random thoughts are below.
You wouldn't be able to use it because you're past deadlines. But in a criminal case, you are able to use it.
But you would agree that none of that was the fault of anyone on this side of the table. That GM initially responded they had nothing and then responded all of a sudden that they did.
I don't have an opinion, and that's certainly not anything I'm intending to convey.
You talked to this jury a lot about that, but you know nothing about that particular part of it. Is that what you're telling us? You talked to the jury a lot about the GM data, but you're telling me that you're unaware that GM initially wanted to long time request and said that, but then in the course of the trial, all of a sudden came up and said, you know what, we found something, and that's the reason why it arrived late. You're saying you don't know anything about that after talking to this jury about that?
I don't know a single thing about that. I know that y'all represented that to the court, and I don't have any reason to doubt
Cross,
it.
you guys, because I haven't been paying attention
I
to
don't-
this trial.
And you would agree that that's
Not really.
generally
I don't know
consistent
who's
with
who. Every
the
little thing,
telemetry
but
data that the FBI did, correct?
Is this prosecution?
The OnStar data.
It's giving cross.
The OnStar, I think the OnStar data and the telemetry data are totally different.
All right, you don't think they're generally consistent with one another. Is that what you're telling this jury?
No, I'm not telling the jury anything about that. I'm just saying I think they're consistent. I think the OnStar data gives you one set of information, and the telemetry data gives you another set of information.
Okay. But you don't think they're consistent? I mean, you talked about it to this jury. I think we're struggling on what seems to be a fairly simple point. Don't you agree?
Mr. Waters, I'm just trying to answer your question.
Right.
And so
He is red.
I'm not trying to be difficult. My understanding of what you're referring to as the telemetry data is when a car goes into park and drive and that sort of thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
And the GPS information is telling you where a vehicle is on a section it's going. So I think that they're two different types of information.
The question was, were they consistent with one another?
I guess so. I don't think they contradict each other.
All right, thank you. All right. You were the breadwinner for your family, correct? For your immediate family.
Yes.
And that included, obviously,
Sorry?
that included for Maggie, correct?
Absolutely.
Pleasure for Buster and Paul as well. Would you agree with that?
That I was the
The primary breadwinner, yes.
No, I was their source of. I was the source of income for Maggie, Buster, and Paul.
Okay.
I mean, I guess as they got older, there's some point where Buster had a job, but I mean, I would still consider myself the provider for them at that time.
Okay. Again, there's no trick here. I'm just trying to ask a simple question.
Mr. Waters, I don't think that was a trick.
Okay.
So.
All right. So you were the primary breadwinner. We can agree on that.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 570 and see if you recognize this particular item. You can go ahead and take it out of the bag.
All right, sir.
You know what that is?
Yes, sir.
That's 571.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I'm going to show you what was in the bag 570. Can you tell me what that is?
I can.
All right. What is that?
Which one?
570, what is that?
All right, 571 is what I would consider to be my badge.
All right. And then what is this one right here, which is 570?
Okay, 570 would be the one I told you about, was my grandfather's badge.
Oh, he had
after he
badges?
retired, when he became an assistant for my dad.
Yeah.
This time it also states 571 and 570 in the evidence.
Yeah, I admit it.
It's giving everything he said he did. He might have done it. I
Where did you
don't
keep
know.
570? The one that was your grandfather's?
It didn't have a single place that it was kept.
You know where it was recovered by law enforcement?
No, sir.
Would you dispute if it was recovered at the Mercedes you were driving on September 4th, the day of the side of the road incident?
No, I believe that.
No, the Elmo, please. No, the screen, please. And 571, where'd you keep this one?
Usually in my car.
Where in your car?
It could be all of it. It could be on the dash, like you were talking to Mark Ball about. It could be in the center console. It could be in the cup holder. It could be on seat. Usually in the front seat, but in my car is where I try to keep it.
All right. And when you had it in your dash, would you have it face up or face down?
I didn't have any particular manner in which I stored it anywhere.
There was no rhyme or reason to it, is what you're telling the jury? How you had it in the dash?
There may be occasions where I had it in the dash for some particular reason, but there were a lot of times where it probably was in the dash for no particular reason other than that's where I put it. Just like I put it on the seat or in the cup holder.
You said there were particular reasons why you might put it in the dash. What would those reasons be?
I mean, it could be any number of things. If I'm going somewhere where I want somebody to see it, then I would put it in the dash. There's another reason for somebody to see it. Like, for instance, if I get pulled over, I might have it in the cup holder so an officer could see it when he walked up.
Why would you do that? Why would you have it in the cup holder? You're not saying you were on official business, are you?
No, I'm not saying I'm on official business.
Why would you want it in a cup holder if you got pulled over?
Because I found that law enforcement oftentimes is friendlier when you're in law enforcement.
When you're law enforcement. So you considered yourself law enforcement?
No, sir, I can't say that I considered myself law enforcement.
Well, you carried a badge on you as a assistant solicitor for 2 decades, roughly?
From around
Sometimes-
98, so
Is that
yes, sir, for
correct?
2 decades.
And you would ride with it, sometimes sitting in the front dash face up,
That's correct.
and you would put it in the cup holder so that law enforcement would see you if you got pulled over, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so you didn't consider yourself law enforcement.
I personally didn't consider myself to be law enforcement, no, sir.
All right, so you were just using having this badge to your advantage, and taking license, is that correct?
I guess in some circumstances, that is.
Use it away with something for or treatment if you got pulled over.
Get better treatment if I got pulled over. I mean, that's probably a fair statement. Yeah, saw that. That's true.
Have to take an oath when you got that badge?
No, sir.
You didn't?
Not that I remember. I don't. I certainly don't recall taking one, like, so going somewhere and raising my hand.
Raising your hand and saying, I promise to do my duty fairly and with integrity. You never had to do that?
Mr. Waters, if I did, I sure don't recall it. I mean, it was a very informal process when I became a volunteer assistant solicitor. I continued with Duffy. I mean, at some point, you know, if at all that I can remember, it would be on some paper that I may have had to sign, but I don't specifically remember doing that.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. Let's go back to 571. And on the inside of it, what are those right there? Those the an ID card with your picture on it?
Yes, sir, that is.
All right. And at the top, on that top, leave it in there if you would, please. Can you not see it?
I can, but I was just gonna see what's on the back.
Okay.
All right, sir.
All right. And it's got your picture on it, got your name on it.
I wonder how helpful the
Yes, sir, that does
little
have my
two he had.
picture
You know, like how helpful is it?
in
I
my
don't
name.
All right. Good. Put that one back for me, please.
All right. So you wanna
All
look
right.
at this top one?
Look at the top one.
Okay.
What office does it say that you are on that top one right there? Up there at the top.
State of South Carolina Solicitor, the Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit. It says that I, as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do hereby certify that, and it has,
Your name.
right? And it has all that data.
What position does it say that you're appointed to?
As the, okay, it says that as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do certify that Richard A. Murdaugh was on July 1st, 2013, appointed as the Deputy Solicitor of Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties in and is authorized to enforce the laws in the 14th Judicial Circuit.
Can I hold it back?
And it's,
How many
yes, sir,
counties was that?
signed by Duffy Stone.
Signed by Duffy Stone. So deputy solicitor, is that correct?
I was never a deputy solicitor, Mr. Waters. That's what that says, but I've never been a deputy solicitor, unless deputy solicitor is, I was a volunteer assistant solicitor. And as far as I know, Sean Thornton has been the only deputy solicitor that Duffy Stone had.
And it's a simple point. It says deputy solicitor, but deputy solicitor is a higher rank than assistant solicitor, correct? To your understanding?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And that was Sean Thornton. I've never been deputy solicitor, even though that does say that.
Messy
I agree.
title.
And that was signed by Duffy Stone, not by me.
I understand. This is what was given to you.
That's what was given to, I
I
mean,
went through this
You
whole
just
long
threw
thing at the
deputy in
beginning
it.
about whether or not you had an association with the law enforcement community, but this was given to you not by your father, but by a successor, correct?
well, no, sir. I believe we got to this because you were asking me if I took an oath, and I don't remember taking the oath. And then you started asking me about these things.
Okay. And you agree that this card says deputy solicitor, right?
I agree that card says deputy solicitor.
Would you agree with me that it says on the back that it is reposing special trust and confidence in your ability, care, prudence, and integrity? Is that what it says on the back of this?
I mean, if you're, no, sir. I mean, I trust, if you're reading that off the back of that, I assume that it does. You were reading off of the one that Duffy Stone gave me, correct?
Yeah, and then the one at the top, where did that one come from? You want me to bring it back to you?
No, sir, I think I can see it. That
It's
would
not
be,
focused very well.
that's okay. I mean, I know what it is. I looked at it when you handed it to me. So the card on the bottom is what I got from Duffy Stone. The one on the top, and the one on the top should give you a better, There we go. All right. So the one on the top was what came from my dad when he was solicitor. The one on the bottom is what came from Duffy Stone when he was solicitor. And Duffy Stone took over after retired in 2006. Duffy Stone expired the rest of his unexpired terms, like my dad filled my granddad. So, and Duffy became the solicitor.
Did you ever have lights in your vehicle?
In the vehicle, yes, I did.
Was that a good vehicle?
No, sir, it was not.
When did you have lights, like blue lights and stuff?
Yes, sir, I had some blue lights.
When did you have blue lights? And let me remember, you did 5 cases over 20 years, and you had blue lights in your vehicle, but it was your private vehicle, correct?
Well, it was the vehicle that I drove. It was a law firm owned vehicle.
The law firm's own vehicle. So how'd you get blue lights in there?
I had them installed.
And who installed them?
I believe that Eddie Gibson installed them.
And who was that?
He's the guy who apparently does blue light work for most of the sheriff's departments in the 14th Circuit and a lot of the police departments.
And when did you have that installed? Do you recall? Was it one vehicle or more than one vehicle? Let's start with that.
I believe I had blue lights in one vehicle.
And when did you have that installed, do you think?
I'm not sure. It would have been,
5 years, 10 years?
no, here I can give you a time frame.
Okay.
The vehicle that I was in on that got taken in. I got vehicle sometimes months.
Mhm.
I would have had the previous vehicle for 5 years. That's how long we kept vehicles in the law firm. So I would have had it for 5 years. And sometime during that 5-year period, I had lights installed.
Did you ask the sheriff at the time if you could do that?
I did.
Who was that?
I believe it was T.C. Smalls. And I believe in Colleton, it was Andy Strickland.
Were you friends with Andy Strickland?
Yeah, I was friends with Andy Strickland.
And you said, hey, I'm gonna get some blue lights on my vehicle, and that's cool. Or words to that.
I mean, at that time, I go,
Give it a second, guys.
words that he would have used or I would have used, but issue with the fact that I don't take issue with the fact that it's.
And we're back.
You know, if that's how they say it was. Found it.
Sorry about the
Your Honor,
struggle to
States 507 and
I am
others.
just working. I am.
You testified some about the boat case, and we'll talk more about that
Boat
later.
case being, I'm sorry.
The boat wreck case. Can we agree that that's what we're talking about when we say the boat case? February in 2019.
Well, there's two things. You referring to the civil case when you say the boat case,
Okay.
but when I think about the boat case, I think about the charges that y'all brought against Pawpaw.
Okay.
So, but there, also the civil case.
Paul, that was your new name for Paul?
I mean, I called him Paw. Maggie called him Paw. Bus calls him Paw.
Sure.
Roro calls him Paw. I mean, that's
Roro?
not.
Who was Roro?
That's Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And this jury, of course, has heard multiple recorded statements of you during the course of this. Did you ever refer to Paul as Paw during that?
I don't know
Do you recall?
how I referred to I can say Paul if you prefer that.
No.
Okay, so that's my question earlier. I thought that he had said Paul was his son. Paw was what they called him, but then I thought it was
Is
the
today the
dog.
first time I've called my son Paw? No, sir, that is not correct.
Have you ever called him that on all the recorded statements that this jury has heard?
I don't know.
Okay, I knew
You
I
ever
was
called Rogan Roro?
girl, what?
I
All
called
the
him
recorded
Roro
statements.
all the time.
And the
So it
recorded
wasn't a
statements,
dog.
did you ever call him that?
It was
I
his
don't know.
son. Like
I called him Rogan also, so I don't know. But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul.
All right. Well, let's talk about, and I'll be specific with the boat wreck criminal case and the boat wreck civil case. Okay. Is that
Yes,
fair?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And we've talked a little bit about your badge. Did you have your badge with you on the night of the boat wreck?
On the night of the boat wreck, did I have it with me?
Yeah.
When?
Did you go to the hospital that night?
I did go to the hospital that night.
Did you have it with you then?
I don't know, but I don't believe so. But I really
You
don't
don't
know.
believe so?
But
When you went to the hospital on the night of the boat wreck, were you acting in any official capacity?
the night of when I went to the hospital, was I acting in an official capacity?
He
Yes.
repeats every
No,
single
sir.
question.
Nine. And do you recognize the person on the right in that image?
No, sir.
You don't recognize that?
I don't recognize him.
No, I'm asking about that.
Oh, me?
Is that you?
Yeah, it looks like me.
All right. What's hanging out of your pocket in plain view?
Looks like a badge.
You didn't recall that until I just showed you that picture?
No, sir, I did not.
Your Honor, it also states 569 in the evidence.
Admitted.
That's you in the white shirt, is that right?
Yes, sir, it is.
And this is the badge hanging out of your pocket? You remember which, is that correct?
Looks to be, yes, sir.
Which badge is that? Which one of the two, do you remember?
Nah, you can't tell from here.
Okay. And why'd you have it hanging out of your pocket like that?
I don't remember having that. No, I don't know.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. No, sir.
Did you generally walk around with your badge hanging out of your pocket?
Generally
You know
speaking,
what
no,
it's
sir, I did not.
giving? It's
Or only when you
giving-
wanted
have you
some
guys
advantage
ever
from it?
watched the
Did I?
Did you want some advantage from wearing it
guys
like that?
that are
Did I hang it out in my pocket when I wanted an advantage?
Yes.
pretending to be police officers, impersonating police
I may
officers?
have. I certainly may have.
What advantage
Go
did you
watch
want
those.
When?
then?
I don't even recall this, Mr. Ward. Holding some advantage, as you say it, I guess, and I don't remember this, but I guess I would want, as I said, a badge has a warming effect with other law enforcement. And so if I was seeking any advantage, as you say, then I guess that would be what it was.
you ever want to be the solicitor?
Yeah, there was a time period where I did.
Did you ever want to be the solicitor? The
Yeah,
elected solicitor?
there was a time period when I absolutely did.
When was that?
Prior to around the time prior to my dad retiring.
Prior to 2006?
Yes, sir.
How long did you do that?
I mean, I wanted to be a solicitor for a long time. You know, the time when my dad retired, I was already struggling with pills, and I knew to do it.
2006?
Yes, sir.
You've already struggling with pills 2006, correct?
That's correct.
That next year, you're still able to maintain a lucrative law practice. Would
Bills
you agree
or
with that?
bills?
Yes, sir.
You already testified that all
Yeah,
law partners had no idea of the whole problem that you had all that time, correct?
I'm testifying that I believe, in fact, I'm certain that none of my partners knew I had an addiction.
He's making sure they're out of liability. And also, like, one
That
thing
night
about
of the
the
boat
bar,
ride, you
they
say you don't
will
remember putting your
disbar
badge
you for
out,
stealing
correct?
money, but not pills.
I don't remember. I don't even remember having my badge.
Do you remember going around talking to the kids? The other kids that were on the boat?
Yeah, I talked to some of them.
You remember going to do that?
Yes.
And was your badge hanging out when you did that as well?
You know, I wouldn't think so, Mr. Waters, but like I say, I don't think so.
All right. So it just comes naturally to put a badge out when something like that, but you don't even remember how you did that.
No, I don't even remember having my badge. And I specifically know that I didn't use the badge. So did I mean to do this? I'm not saying that I didn't, but I don't know if I was putting it in my pocket and the flap, you know, you notice that that flap is not Velcro down. I don't know. I don't have a specific memory of that. And I never went around acting I was on official business.
So you're
So-
saying it might be an accident that your badge was hanging out there.
I'm saying that I have no memory of that whatsoever.
All right. Well, you never use these badges as like a wallet, right?
No, I did.
You did?
I did.
So you're saying you had your credit cards and all your stuff in there?
No,
Yeah.
no, sir. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that night. You just asked me if I ever used a wallet. There were times when I used it as a wallet.
Were you using it as a wallet that night?
I don't remember, but I don't think so. I didn't use it as a wallet very often, and I didn't use it as a wallet for very long when I did use it as a
All right.
wallet.
So let's see if we can get back to what we agree on. So you would agree that you had to make a conscious decision to grab that badge and when you went into the hospital, correct? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, at some point I had to make a conscious decision to pick it up.
But you're saying you don't know if you hung it out like that on purpose while you're talking to that law enforcement officer.
Let's
or
say
if
you
it's just
used
an
the badge
accident
to get
that's hanging out in
ahead.
your
Ugh,
pocket in full
please.
view of everyone.
Well, I am saying that because I do not normally carry a badge, and even if I were to give a question to me, it's got kind of an obnoxious look to it. That just, I mean, that's not something I would typically that night. I have no memory.
So you're saying that just could be an accident that is hanging out like that?
I'm saying it could, or I could have put it there like.
You generally just walk with your- or would you only carry it when you want to use it for something?
No, I wouldn't generally carry around in my pocket.
All right. All right. So we got the badge that may be accidentally hanging out of your pocket. You won't concede that you did that purposefully.
I mean, Mr. Waters, if you want me to say I did that on purpose, I don't have a problem with that. I'm saying I don't remember that. All right. So can I tell you that I did that on purpose? No, sir, I can't. Can I say that this happened can't, I don't remember. That's just not how I would normally, that's that's not a normal thing. So I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's fine. You
But-
can say to this jury that there was any intention or purpose to you doing that at the hospital on the night of the boat wreck.
I'm saying I don't remember using that badge.
Fair enough.
And I specifically remember, I'm sorry, go ahead. You can ask
You
your next
specifically remember what?
question. When I room, and I know that I did not do that.
No, because it was on your pocket like that, correct?
Right.
Did you use to get
Truly public domain. I mean, basically, the places that I went was like a daughter to Maggie, and I had dated Paul for a long time. And I went to Morgan. Morgan had an injury to her hand that was bad, and she was very upset about Mallory. And they were working on her, so I left her. I went back to Paul at some point. I know that I went to Connor's room, and I think those are the only rooms I went to. But again, I can't tell you that with certainty.
while you're wearing that badge like that, did you tell any of the kids who were in the boat wreck not to cooperate with law enforcement?
I never told anybody not to cooperate with law enforcement, whether I had a badge hanging out my pants, didn't have a badge, or any point in time did I tell anybody don't cooperate with law enforcement.
Did you become aware in March or April or May of 2021, shortly before June, that an investigation into the investigation of that night had begun, as well as your conduct?
Yes, I did learn of that. That investigation. So many things and haven't been charged with that. I'm assuming that it may not be charges.
Whether or not you were aware that that had begun in the spring of 2021.
Yes, sir. I was aware. Well, at some point in time, I became aware of it. Was that the spring? Was it, February, March, April? I know it was after I know it was after that night. Before. I'm pretty sure that I
We'll be here
already.
a long time.
I'm pretty sure that I already knew that.
Did I
On June.
mention Andy Strickland? You know what happened to him?
I know what happened to him then.
Lost his job as sheriff.
I believe when he was charged, I don't know if he resigned or he
I'm
was.
sorry, you guys, about the
um,
connection. This is my first
suspended.
time live streaming a live trial. I'm
You
just here for
remember
my
that
random
was a
thoughts.
few months prior to you becoming aware
And
of
I'm
an
also working, so
investigation
work with me.
into the investigation of this boat case, including you?
Do I know what now?
Andy Strickland was charged and lost his job. Was that a few months prior to you becoming aware of the investigation into this incident that's on the screen?
A few months prior? I don't really know this for a fact, but I believe, as I'm sitting here today, I believe that Andy was charged back in the fall. And like I said, we learned about when I've testified about when I understood there was an investigation into whether or not I was acting in a manner or whatever it was y'all were investigating, public corruption or that. So if it was a couple of months, if it was when Andy Strickland got charged, then if you showed me that, I'd be surprised, because I think he was charged before that.
All right. But this was a friend of yours, correct? The guy who you asked if you could put lights in your car in a private vehicle, correct? Right.
Well, I mean, Andy, yeah, I considered Andy a friend. I considered TC a friend, and I considered Tom Carter a friend,
Sure.
all of whom I asked if I could put lights in the vehicle.
All right. And
So, yes, sir. I mean, I considered Andy a friend.
would you at least agree with me that in at least the fall of 2020, your friend Andy Strickland was indicted and lost his job for a financial and corruption investigation?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Response.
Your Honor, I think there's a link between his knowledge of that and what he's admitted, that there was an investigation going on in the months prior to the murders.
Anything further?
I mean, the question is something about Andy Strickland being indicted. I just don't see the relevance, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
All right. We can at least agree that you were aware prior to the murders that there was this investigation, correct? The one on the screen. The one related to the boat investigation into the boat case.
Was I aware that y'all had started an investigation into what I did in the hospital prior to the June 7th?
Yes.
I believe that.
All right.
And if it wasn't before that, it was shortly after.
Hollow stare.
You testified that you've had a pill addiction for approximately 20 years, correct?
I think that's about right.
And so when did you start money from clients? How long did it take before you started doing that?
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure when the first time I did
He
that
came
is.
straight after saying,
No,
but
sir,
when did
not
you
yet.
start healing?
Thought about that?
I'm sure I've thought about it, but to be able to sit here, I mean, you got to understand, I've been in rehab and I've been in
Messy.
jail, and I don't have access. You know, all my telephone calls were put on the media, so I haven't had a lot of phone access. I haven't had a lot of access. So as we sit here today, I cannot tell you the exact time. I don't deny that I did it, but I can't tell you the exact time that I first did it.
And you told this jury that's the cause of your financial problems?
Did I say that
Your
Pills
opiate
was-
addiction was the cause of your financial problems?
it was certainly a cause? Yes,
A
sir.
cause, not the only cause though, correct?
No, I wouldn't think it was the only cause, but yeah, it was certainly a cause.
You recall testimony in this
Was
courtroom
pill
about
popping the reason
how you had some
stole?
land deals go bad around the time of the recession in 2008, 2009?
Sure.
And you recall testimony from your law partners in this courtroom that you had some big cases that they thought cured those issues, correct?
I heard them say that.
Do you agree with that?
Do I disagree with what they thought? No, I mean, I don't have any
No, do you
reason
disagree if that was true?
that they thought, that my partners thought that, I gotten past my financial difficulties. I have no reason to dispute that, Mr. Waters. I'm not
Was
trying to
that true?
frustrate you.
Was what they thought true?
That I was past my financial difficulties? Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
Was it true that I was past my financial difficulties? I mean, they were certainly better after that, but I mean, no, I don't think I was past them. No, sir.
All right. What was the first big case after the recession that you had?
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you what the first big case was.
You remember
What-
the,
what date?
all right, well, let's go with the Pinckney case. Do you remember when that was?
I remember generally speaking when it was, yes, sir.
What year was that? 2011? Would you dispute that?
2011, when it ended?
When you got recoveries in that case?
I mean, if you're looking at that, tells me that I have no that, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's certainly in the time frame.
It's fine, Mr. Murdaugh. We'll go through it. Let's do it.
Mr. Waters, like I said, I take you at that. I just don't know off the top of my head.
All right.
I don't have a reason to dispute that.
Well, it's giving.
I'm gonna show you what
No hot mess.
evidence to state. Actually, 332, 334. Recognize those documents? Just generally, do you recognize it?
I do.
All right, and just generally, what are those? Those are disbursement sheets. Can I have them back, please?
Yes, sir. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Just trying to see which ones. All right, I mean, there's some things about it that I'm curious about, but
Yeah, we'll
you
talk
ask
about
some
that.
questions.
We'll talk about that. All right. Let's talk about, let's start with Natasha Thomas. Do you remember her?
I do.
How old was she when she became your client?
Not sure she was young.
Teenager?
I'm not sure, but
Correct.
yes, she was underage. I do believe that.
All right.
In fact, I know that.
And can you tell me what she was injured in this wreck with, in an automobile wreck, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
And the commission was offense for an alleged tire issue, is that correct?
that is correct.
All right. And do you remember how much Natasha Thomas got in that particular case? And I can show it to you on 334. Do you remember how much she got?
As a gross settlement, I believe it shows
Yeah.
$2 million.
$2 million. All right. And how much were your or PMPD's fees that would be attributed to you in that out of that $2 million?
$800,000.
800,000.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. All right. And so that would be $800,000 in fees that would get attributed to you. That has nothing to do with the money that you subsequently stole from the teenager. Correct?
The 800,000.
Yes.
That's right.
All right. So you got $800,000 attributed to you with the firm, but that was not enough. You also stole money from that teenager. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I
When
stole
you did
money
that,
from a
did you sit down with
teenager.
her, much as you sat down with this jury, and explained to her what was going on while you were stealing her money?
That would be the normal process, but I certainly don't remember specifically doing that.
That would be the normal process, correct?
It would be. It may be a little different with a teenager, but certainly, I mean,
You would sit down with them across the table and go through these documents, correct?
if that would not be abnormal. Yes, sir.
All right. And then you would explain to them what was going on and how they were getting everything they were entitled to, correct?
If I was the one doing it, yes, sir.
And you would look them in the eye while you did that, correct?
It wouldn't be unusual for me to look them in the eye.
While you were doing some fast talking to a teenager, correct?
I certainly was not telling her that I was slow, but I wasn't telling the truth.
All right. Well, you ultimately convinced her that there was nothing amiss here, right? While you were stealing her money, correct?
I don't know if I convinced her.
Hey, you guys, I'm just trying to test out to see what's going on. I don't know if I necessarily have an echo in my background, but I'm about to get right back on here. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to figure something out. Again, I'm just kind of streaming while I work. No biggie. But I'll be right back. And we're back.
That was not my money. I misled people that I shouldn't have misled, and I did wrong.
And just in time for him to say he's
I can
sorry.
tell you that. And I may be able to tell you specifically in some instances what I did or didn't do.
Ghetto.
Well, good. Well, we'll do that. But the point that I'm asking you is, it's not just as simple as some paperwork. Sit down and deal with people, convince them that you were telling them in order.
Situations, I may have to do that. Just
Okay.
so as I slip down in instance, like you're breaking money that wasn't on it. It was terrible what I did.
Arthur, yes.
That's correct.
All right. Do you remember what the total recovery was in that particular case? There were multiple plaintiffs. Let me ask you that first. There were multiple plaintiffs in that case, correct?
That's correct.
And do you remember what the total recovery was in that case?
Not exactly, but I mean, I know generally.
All right. Was it $12 million? Would you disagree with that?
Is it $12 million? I mean, if you tell me it was $12 million, I'll give you, but I thought it was a little bit more than that.
All right. And
He
if
said, I'm gonna
ultimately
believe everything you
have
tell
multiple
me.
plaintiffs, how do you
Except
decide
that I
as the
like
plaintiff's
him.
lawyer, how does it work out that amounts of that total recovery get allocated to individual plaintiffs?
I mean, different cases are different ways.
Is it true that often the defense attorneys, the civil defense attorneys, will ask the plaintiff's attorneys how you want that allocated?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Is that what happened in this case? In the Badger case?
I can't remember exactly how we came to that.
Who was the deep pocket in the Badger case? Do you remember? The defendant that had the money that you ultimately recovered from, the vast majority. Do you remember?
Well, it was UPS, and I believe it was, I can't remember if it was corporate or if there was insurance, but it was certainly UPS was the major defendant.
Okay.
But I believe Arthur Badger was a defendant. I can't remember. I know UPS was.
Did you sit down with him and explain this paperwork that you were using to steal his money?
I believe I did sit down with Arthur Badger.
And managed to convince him that
Did
nothing was
he
amiss,
ask him if
while
he
at the same
explained if
time
he was
stealing
stealing his money?
I believe I did.
And did you
No, I
allocate millions of dollars to Arthur Badger personally while only telling him that his recovery was going to be around $300,000?
I believe that I did. Yes, sir.
And on this exhibit,
Trifling.
330 sat down and looked him in the eye with all this stuff on here and fast talked him past these figures so that he believed you and left thinking that you had done him right.
I would have, I
that-
believe that I
Oh,
sat down with Arthur
wow.
Badger,
See,
and I know that I
listen.
misled Arthur Badger, and I'm sure at some point during that conversation that I looked him in the eye.
Going back to States 333, you remember Hakeem Pinckney? Do you remember him?
I do.
What happened to him?
Saying that Natasha Thomas was injured in.
Was he badly injured?
He was.
How badly injured was he?
Yes, I mean, he was terribly injured. He became I can't remember what level, but he was a quadriplegic.
You remember what the total recovery amount was for him?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
All right. Well, let me show you States 333 and see what the total, if you recall, what the total recovery was in that case.
It looked like it was $10,245,000.
That was for Hakeem, correct?
That's correct.
And how much of that was the attorney's fees that would have gone to PMPED that would have been attributed to you?
$4,098,000.
Million that you would have done, correct?
And $98,000. Yes, sir.
And in the end, that wasn't enough for you, correct?
Damn.
Was that enough for you?
Sorry, YouTube.
Was that enough for me in that case?
Yeah.
I mean,
Was over $4 million in legal fees that you received that would have been attributable to you through the law firm at the end of the year, whatever it worked out to be, but you would have been credited with over $4 million in fees for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Greedy.
And
y'all.
was that enough for you?
was that enough for me?
Or
Like,
did you
even
take
if he
more
didn't do
no,
this,
from?
he definitely
I
might have been
took
involved.
monies from
Maybe.
Hakeem Pinckney
Allegedly.
that did not belong to me,
Maybe.
that I should not have taken.
Been rendered a paraplegic.
No, sir, he was a quadriplegic,
Quadriplegic. Thank
unfortunately.
you for correcting.
He
Yes, sir.
stole money from a quadriplegic?
You ultimately take
That's just
money from his mother, Pamela, as well.
I believe that I did.
You remember how much money you took from a king?
No, sir, not off the top of my head. I do not.
If I told you it was over $370,000, would you agree with that?
If that's what the records show, I don't dispute that.
Do you remember how much you took from the teenager Natasha Thomas in addition to your legal fees?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
If I told you it was over $350,000, would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Do you remember how much you took from Arthur Badger?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
It was over $1.3 million. Would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
wow. Y'all, this man really stole a lot of money. I know the bar ate him up. Is he?
Around the time that this was going on, did you have some land deals that were going bad? That had gone bad?
Which
2008, 2009, 2010, 2011?
I think I think those had happened a little bit before that, but I had some land deals that, you know, certainly had problems.
And that had something to do with the money you were taking as well, did it not?
I think the whole picture had to do with me doing stuff I shouldn't have done. I mean, I would agree that, I mean, that certainly would have played some role in it.
Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
A wealthy lifestyle.
Mhm.
Probably. I mean, we were living whatever lifestyle. You know, around what time?
2011. That's a lot of money.
I think there's no question line.
Okay. Okay. All right. In here, is it? Were you living wealthy?
I just think about wealthy.
Question.
You know, and it depends. I was spending money that wasn't mine, that I shouldn't have. I think, you know, a lifestyle. I don't have an issue if you want to call it wealthy.
All right. Would you concede with me all the money going to this point in time?
No,
All this stolen money.
no, I doubt that it was.
It's being used to support your lifestyle.
Well, I haven't looked at all these documents to know exactly what was being spent where, but here's what I do know. I know that I'm making money, and I did, and I know that I was spending a bunch of money on that. I don't remember those. I just can't remember those land deals, but you know, if I spent money on other things, I don't dispute that either. I just haven't looked at the records.
Okay. But you would at least concede that the money you were stealing was going to support your ever expanding wealthy lifestyle. Would you concede that?
All of the money I stole,
Any of it, Mr. Murdaugh?
any of it? Yeah, I would certainly agree that there was money that didn't go to buy just pills.
All right. And you would concede that even though you were generating millions of dollars in fees, that was not enough for you. Would you concede that?
If by concede that, you mean was I also money repeatedly?
Who were the Plowlers?
They were two young girls from.
Did they suffer a long result of an accident?
They
What loss did they suffer? Who died?
their mother did.
And did you get a sizable recovery in the case, in that particular case related to that?
Yes, sir.
You remember how much that recovery was?
I don't.
Still here, you guys. Just working away. Just working away.
Got any idea?
Let me know what you
I
guys
know it
think.
was a
Whoever's in
significant
here,
settlement. And I know it was a very good
whoever's working
settlement,
with
but,
me,
$1 million?
oh yeah, it was millions of dollars.
he has scammed a lot of
But
people.
whether it was, 2 million, I know it was significant. I don't know if it was 8 figures, but I know it was a significant settlement.
And was there a conservatorship for them because they were underage?
There was a conservatorship for them, but I don't think the fact that they were underage is why there was a conservatorship.
You don't think it was because, at least in part, they were underage when the settlement was received?
No, that's not what I remember. But for purposes of your thing, Mr. Waters, I agree there was a conservator appointed.
Well, what is your memory of why the conservator was appointed?
My memory is that the father in this case, who was the beneficiary or a big beneficiary in this, and who was the PR of the mother's case, was an undesirable witness. And there was testimony that it was testimony that he had hit his wife. And it was clear, we felt like we didn't want him to be the face of the lawsuit. So we appointed a conservator
Who was that?
for that purpose, is
Who would-
why we appointed a conservator.
Okay. And who was that?
That was Russell Feet.
At Palmetto State Bank?
Yes, sir.
And after that, did you get Russell Lafitte to start loaning you money from the Plower Girls account that he was concerned for?
He loaned me money from the Plyler account. I don't know if I got him to do that.
Oh, you didn't talk to him about it? Y'all didn't talk about that at all?
No, we did talk about it. I mean,
There's emails to that effect. Are you disputing that to this jury?
Mr. Waters, I'm not disputing, I'm telling you that Russell gave a loan from the Plyler.
He's not friend anymore.
Your question was, did I get him that? And I don't necessarily believe that is accurate.
Yeah.
Russell felt like that it was a safe investment for those girls to charge me a higher interest rate when they weren't getting but so much interest somewhere else. So
What was that interest rate that y'all thought was such a good idea for these girls? Do you recall what it was?
I can't remember.
The reality is that you needed the money, and this was a convenient source to keep your massive cash flow as early as 2000, 2000.
This was a loan, yes, sir. But exactly why it came from them versus the bank, I can't tell you the details without looking at all that. I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
And despite all you were earning, you would even send Russell emails saying, hey, transfer over 75,000 from the Plower account into my account, correct? You remember emails to that effect that you would have to him?
Do I remember an email to that effect? No, I don't remember that. But
Dispute that there were emails to that effect?
not if you say there were, Mr. Waters. I don't
Whatever you
dispute
say,
that.
sir,
I
whatever
don't
you say,
dispute any of
whatever
this,
you
that I took
say.
money that didn't belong to me, that I misled people.
I know
Yeah,
that you want
well-
the answer to be that simple. That's not what I'm at. We agree on that.
I
We've
don't-
agreed on that.
Well, no, sir, I don't necessarily want the answer to be simple. I just want everybody to understand, I do not dispute that I stole money that was not money, that to do that I misled people that trusted me to do that. And that what I did was terrible. I don't dispute that. It's just the way you're asking these questions, there's some things in there that I do take issue with.
Okay. Which part of what I just asked you about the Pliers do you take issue with? You take issue that y'all didn't conspire to do that, you and Russell? You take
Yes.
issue with that? You take issue with that? Okay.
I can tell you that Russell Lafitte never conspired with me to do anything. Whatever was done by me.
Okay. So you told the Plower girls that you were borrowing money from their account? That,
No, I don't know. I don't know that I told
tell
them that.
Russell to tell them?
I don't recall. I don't believe so, but I can't sit here and tell you what I told him however many years ago.
You tell Russell he could borrow money from that account too?
I don't remember any discussion with him about him borrowing money.
Was the supposed interest
If
you were
somebody
paying far
watches
lower
this
than
in the
anything you
playback,
could have
can
gotten
you
anywhere else?
please count how many times he
I
has
don't even know what interest
said,
rate I was paying.
When
I
it was
believe-
clear, you never told
I
this to the
don't
Plyler
believe-
girls, did you?
I would
believe,
have thought the
believe,
interest
believe.
rate that
I
I was
thought-
paying was a
I
little bit
believe.
more than what a bank loan would have been, but I don't know that. I don't know that to be. I don't know what the interest rate was, so I don't know that for sure.
When you stole the Badger money, how much did you steal from Arthur Badger that we talked about before, the UPS guy?
I don't remember the exact amount.
Over $1.3 million. Would you dispute that?
I don't dispute that.
And that was in addition to the $1.2 million in attorney's fees for his case alone that would have been attributed to you through the firm?
What I stole from Arthur Badger
Let me ask you this.
inappropriately was in addition to any fees that I legitimately earned. I shouldn't have stolen the money from Arthur Badger. I misled him and I was wrong.
Did you speak with Russell Lafitte once you stole this money from Arthur Badger about structuring that $1.3 million that you stole in a manner so it appeared to be payments to the Plyler account? You understand the question?
No, sir. Say that again.
Did you have any conversations with Russell Lafitte about structuring this $1.3 million into multiple payments and then applying it to the Plyler account?
I've heard the testimony and I've seen some of
I'm
those
asking
records.
if you did. Did you have any conversations with Russell about that?
I had to.
Okay.
I had to have.
All right. You even asked him to recut the check, correct? To have Jeannie recut the check.
I've seen, I believe an email or a text to that effect.
So you don't dispute that.
No, I don't dispute that. What I dispute is if you're insinuating in any way, this is stuff that I did.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
this
you.
stuff that I did these things from Russell Lafitte.
Y'all,
when
here
they-
we go lying again, y'all. It's ghetto.
I'm not here to
And-
talk
and
about
what-
that. I'm just talking about
But-
what went on.
And I know. I'm the one that took people's money that I shouldn't have taken, and that Russell Lafitte was not in helping me do that.
I just asked
No, did it.
sort of that and then applied those over time, illusion payments to the Plyler. Is that correct?
What
Is that-
I don't dispute. I told Russell, and it's give you details, and I can't do that. Not dispute what's in those emails.
And did you steal that Badger money because you had to pay back the Plyler girls' money before they turned 18 and reached the age of majority? And Russell would then have to be held to account for that money that he had loaned to himself and to you.
First off, I don't know anything about any money that Russell loaned to himself. I only know about what me. And I don't specifically, I don't believe that any that did not belong to me that I wrote. Only took in a relationship with having to pay back a loan, or there being some time pressure to pay back a loan that he gave me on the Plyler conservatorship.
You don't remember that?
No, and I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I'm saying that I don't remember. That's not the way I remember it, and I don't remember it.
Did you ultimately borrow $1 million roughly from the Plyler girls without their knowledge? Does that sound right? About $1 million in total?
If you tell me that's the number, I mean, that surprises me, but I don't dispute what's in the records, but I didn't believe I had a loan for, you said $1 million? I didn't believe that I had a
In
loan.
total.
Mr. Waters, if that's what the records say, disputed, but I thought I had a $1 million loan from them. But if that's what the records say, I don't dispute that. But I can tell you this, if I had $1 million loan from them, I don't remember that. And I may be confusing it with what a loan from the bank. But again, if that's what's in the records, I don't dispute it.
All right. So you have no memory whatsoever. And so for all you know, it's just a coincidence that the Plowers were about to turn 18 when you stole this Badger money and you applied a significant amount of it to pay that off before they turned 18. You don't have any memory of that.
No, I can tell you that that was never an issue or motivation for me. Again, taking Arthur Badger's money that I shouldn't have taken, that didn't belong to me, and that I was wrong for. I don't remember loan from the Plyler conservatorship as being motivation for that.
So for all you can remember, it's just a coincidence.
Why I stole Arthur Badger's money? Just being
No, you applied to the Plyler loans right before they turned 18.
No, I'm not saying it's a coincidence or not. What I'm saying is I don't remember that.
Okay.
And so I don't remember that being the motivation. If it was, I didn't know I had $1 million loan from the Plyler conservatorship. At least as I sit here today, but
He doesn't remember.
I would have known I had a loan from somewhere.
You guys,
And if I took
it's
Arthur
giving
Badger's
very
money
much
and applied it
scratch,
to that,
scratch.
I mean, again, I stole money that didn't belong to me. I misled Arthur Badger to take that money, and I was wrong.
Say
How many
you
times have you
misled a
practiced that answer before your
quadriplegic and a
testimony today?
teenager.
I've
Keep
never-
giving the same one over and over again.
I've never practiced that answer, but you keep asking me these questions, and I keep using that answer.
Let me show you what's been entered into evidence as states 321. You recognize generally that document.
I do.
And what is that?
This is the disbursement sheet on the D. Martin case
What happened to Dan Martin?
in a wreck.
That was family
When he got in the wreck,
prior to him getting in the wreck.
I knew who his family was, but prior to getting in the wreck. But after he got in this wreck, I became very close with his family.
Came very close with his family. And he suffered some pretty severe injuries, correct?
Dion was hurt bad. Yes.
Including an injury to his head.
You know, I heard you say the other day, I specifically remember Dion having a head injury. I believe Dion had more orthopedic injuries, but he may have had some injury to his head.
You met with him on a number of occasions?
I dealt with him a number of occasions.
With his parents on a number of...
About Dion,
About the case, while the case was going on.
I don't know if I met with his parents about Dion's case, but I know I met with Dion, and I may have met with his parents if they say that. I mean, his dad's one of the most honorable fellows that I know. If he says I met with him, I certainly.
with the parents?
Yes. I think the world of his dad, his mom, and Dion. It looks like recovery. No, actually, this is $1 million, but I believe the recovery was less than $2 million. I believe the recovery was less than $2 million. I did it. That's $2 million.
So you thought 5.
That was, sir.
That's that where you put that. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have the envelope, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Waters, what was the question?
Let's get the Elmo on today. Right there, that's the time, correct? Where it says structured annuity directly to Michael Gunn.
Yeah, that looks like one place that yes.
Why did you do that?
Why did I?
Yeah, why'd you put
Why
that
did I-
500,000? What was your purpose in doing that?
It appears that I was stealing his money, $1,000.
Were you not inflating your fees with that one?
I mean,
You don't remember?
I know that I inflated the fees like I just talked about, but I believe go back to that top of that thing, I believe what I must have done with the structured annuity is I had that $500,000 check, and I must have had that made to, Forge, as you've heard, to steal that money from Dion Martin
All right, down at the bottom.
that I shouldn't have.
Is that your signature down there?
It is.
Is that Dion Martin's signature on the other side?
It,
You dispute that?
no, I don't dispute that.
So you would have sat down with Dion, document with him, against him, that there was nothing amiss here?
You know, again, I don't know if I went over the document with him or not, but I certainly misled Dion Martin. I certainly lied to Dion Martin. I certainly took money from Dion Martin that did not belong to me, and I shouldn't have done it.
You don't specifically remember talking to Dion. There was nothing in you that causes you to remember talking with Dion, sitting there with this document in front of him, as you looked him in the eye, knowing that you were lying to him the whole time. You don't even remember that? Nothing in you causes you to remember that?
To specifically remember, I'm not sure that I did sit down with Dion Martin. But I certainly, Mr. Waters, I misled Dion Martin. I lied to Dion. I took Dion Martin's money when I shouldn't have.
Well, let me ask you this. Of all the people on here, all these exhibits, do you have any independent recollection of a time where you sat down and looked that person in the eye and you were lying to them and convincing them that everything was okay while you stole their money? Do you remember it, even one of them?
I'm sure I do.
Okay, well, tell us about one.
I mean, you have to show me, you have to give me.
I'm asking you if you remember one time where you're sitting there in your heart, looking somebody in the eye, knowing you're stealing from them, and you remember it.
I remember stealing from people. I remember lying to people, and I remember misleading people. For me to tell you that I sat down with each one of these people.
I'm asking you to tell me about just one conversation one time where looking somebody in the eye and convincing them with your lies that nothing was amiss? One conversation.
There were plenty of conversations where I looked people in the eye and I lied to them. There were plenty of times where I took money that I shouldn't have taken. There were plenty of times where I stole money. For a specific time that I sat down with a specific document and what exactly was said. If you ask me questions, but I can't remember sitting down with Dion on a.
They certainly remember it, don't they, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if they do or not, but I would assume so.
But you can't tell us one time where it just sticks out in your memory where you're like, I'm pulling a fast one right now.
Oh, no.
Or anything, whatever reaction you had. You
Oh,
can't
no.
remember a single one?
No, sir, that's not correct. I can remember a lot of times where I lied to my clients, I misled my clients, and I stole money from my clients in conversations. But for me to sit and tell you that I had a conversation about this,
I know you don't dispute it. You've said that 100 times, haven't you? But you can't recall for this jury one of these people looking them in the eye while you lied to them. You can't recall a single one. I've asked you this 3 times now.
oh, I promise
Asked
you.
and answered.
Your Honor, asked and answered 3 times.
Well, here. Here you go, Mr. Waters.
The point's made, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if your point's or not. Here's
You don't either, do you?
here's what I'm saying. I remember lying to clients of mine. I did it on more than one occasion. I took their money when I shouldn't have taken it. I'm sure that I looked them in the eye. I'm sure that I misled them. But I can't tell you exactly when
still
those
lying,
occurred
y'all.
12 years ago is the point. I dispute that they occurred. I don't
Yes,
dispute
why he
that
doesn't
everything
dispute
about
anything.
what I did was wrong. But I can't sit and tell you the specific details that you're wanting me to give you.
We could just write that answer down on a sheet of paper and you could hold it up each time you want to say that, couldn't you, Mr. Murdaugh?
If
Objection is overruled.
if you want to do, Mr. Waters, but I'm trying to answer your question.
These were real people you were dealing with, right?
Absolutely. They were,
I
you know
I
what?
know you want to give that answer, but these were real people, aren't they?
Nah, they're very real people. And you know, what one of the saddest parts of this whole thing is, you know, they're people that I still care about. You know, that's what I was meaning in that text that you made the issue about to Annette Griswold. And there's a lot of my partner, there's a lot talking about these people. I mean, I know that, and that I heard, that I think a lot of. And
They didn't know.
hang on, I want to say one more thing. And there's no question that the actions that I did, the things that I did wrong, hurt a lot of the people that I care about the most. And I did a lot of damage. And I wreaked a lot of havoc. That
A lot of
I'm,
damage and wreaked a lot of havoc. I hear you.
there's no question about
Let
it.
me show you what's been marked as states 315. See if you recognize this.
I do.
Which case is this?
This is a lease.
And what happened in this case?
I stole her money.
What happened, though, with the underlying case? Can you tell the jury that? Do you remember that?
I believe it was Miss Taylor, Miss Mallory's. I believe it was her daughter. It might have been a granddaughter, but I believe it was her daughter. Was in a wreck
Did she die?
and she got killed.
And Miss Mallory came to you for help.
She did.
You remember that one
I
at
do.
all?
I remember.
Okay, we remember one now.
Oh, no, Mr. Waters, I remember all of these people.
Okay.
It's not that I don't remember them. You're just
Uh-huh.
asking me details about conversations.
Okay, great.
I can promise you, I remember all of these people that I did wrong.
Right. And you stole all of the money, didn't you? In
I,
this
s-
case?
I s- I
All of
stole
it.
all of the money, most of the money that I've been accused of stealing, I stole.
No, I mean, you stole every single dime of the recovery. She didn't get one dime. Isn't that right?
I have to look at the records, but if
You
that's.
credited yourself with legal fees and then you stole all the rest of the money, correct?
I don't dispute that.
All right.
If you
Tell
let
me
see
about, first of all, tell me about Miss Mallory. So she lost her daughter, correct? Is that correct?
that is correct.
And she came to you
It
for
was a
help. Is
daughter,
that
a
correct?
granddaughter, but
All right.
one.
All right. And she came to you for help, correct?
Yes, sir, I agree with you on that.
Very, very sweet lady, correct?
Very sweet lady.
All right. Tell me about your conversation when you looked her in the eye and lied to her while you were stealing every dime of the money.
This is a perfect example, Mr. Waters. I stole her money. I did her wrong, but I don't even believe that Elise Mallory was there when I stole that money. If you look at that disbursement sheet, I don't even believe I ever showed that to her.
Okay. You don't remember having any conversations with her when you lied with her about this case while you were stealing all her money?
I don't think I did in this case. I don't think I had any meetings with her. I think I stole her money, and I don't believe that I had a meeting with her.
So again, you can't tell us one conversation you have with any of these people when you look them in the eye and convince them that you were doing them right, that you were telling the truth.
That's not true, Mr. Waters. I remember
That's
a
true.
lot of those conversations. I remember a lot of them.
Okay. All right. You just testified. You remember a lot of them. I've been asking you now for the past 10 minutes to tell me about one of them where it's stuck in your heart,
There are a lot of
stuck in your brain.
There are a lot of conversations I had where I misled my clients and I stole their money, where they trusted me. And I remember them.
Okay. So
But you keep-
again, can you tell me one? Tell me how it went down, what you said, how you convinced them, how you looked them in the eye, how you made them believe, how you used your skills as a trial lawyer to convince them. Can you just tell me about one of those? What was in your head when you did it?
Your Honor, objection and over.
Objection is over.
What's your question, Mr. Waters?
Can you tell me about one of the conversations you had with all of these people? Just one.
I can
When
tell you
what was
excuse
going
me.
through your head and how it went down when you sat there and looked them in the eye and convinced them you were doing them right while you were lying to them and stealing money.
I had a lot of conversations with a lot of my clients cared about. And so I will tell you that I had conversations where I misled them and I lied to them and I took their money. And that was a number of times.
Okay.
But you're asking me,
Just one specific one, Mr. Murdaugh?
every single one of these clients, I would have had conversations with at some
It's
point.
fine, it's
But
fine.
this particular, like Mr. Waters, that disbursement sheet, there was never a sit down with Miss Mallory about the dispersing the money.
You don't recall talking to her about the status of her case and telling her lies and convincing her that you were on her side. You don't remember that.
No, I definitely remember that, but that's not what you
Tell me
asked
about
me. I had numerous conversations with Miss Mallory, about this case. But the fact is you were asking me about me sitting down with this disbursement sheet, looking her in the eye and convincing her. And I'm telling you that didn't happen in this case. Now, I had a lot of conversations with her where I misled her, Mr. Waters, where I lied to her
Tell me about one.
about
Tell me how it went down.
where
Just a moment. We're going to recess for the day and resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Everyone remain seated while the jury leaves. Case. We'll see you all 9:30 tomorrow morning. Before we,
We have experts we brought in. Basically, one of my, another one came in today. They're not complicated ones. Pathologist testimony perhaps take 30 to 45 minutes. I don't pretty much. The other one is a crime scene analyst who's testifying not about the whole crime scene, but specifically based on the pathologist testimony about what happened in the fever. Total, they should not take more than 2.5 hours. I wonder, since it's apparently going to go on for a while, if we might put them up tomorrow, either first thing in the morning or the morning break. That's what Mr. Waterford can do to get them out of here, because I believe this cross is probably going to go into Monday anyway at the rate. Just a comment.
I do not want to interrupt my cross. They took a very long time today, and the state's entitled to the same consideration without interruption.
can you project how many more hours you have?
Well, I'm actually didn't think it would take this long to get this far, but I think I've got some more financial to move through, and then we'll get to the other evidence. So
4 hours, 6
I'm
hours.
so bad at that, Your Honor. 3, 4, something like that. And if that's out at the outside.
So perhaps tomorrow afternoon we could
Your Honor,
get to 1 or 2.
again, we could probably do this fairly quickly if You're honored. Just leave that door open. I'm going to keep them here, but if I have to keep them here over the weekend, the financial impact of that is huge.
I understand the dilemma, but I'm not going to require the state to break up the cross-examination of this witness.
Well, and again, you know, as I sit here and listen to this, I could have sworn this was a murder case. For 2 hours now, we haven't heard the word murder once. And not criticizing the strategy, obviously denigrating his character is what this is about. It's really not relevant to the issue of whether he killed.
Credibility is an issue, and as it relates to all witnesses in every case. But we'll adjourn until 9:30 tomorrow morning.
All right, guys. Bye.